Aprende en casa a través de la televisión. Levántate con energía y conéctate con la estrella. Prepara tu lápiz, bolígrafo y cuaderno, porque Meduca presenta Conéctate con la estrella.
Hello students, welcome back to Conéctate con la Estrella. This is our 4th week of English classes thanks to the initiative of the Ministry of Education for you students of 8th grade. I'm the teacher Julio Samaniego. In the next 40 minutes of class, we are going to learn a new topic which is about the different types of communities, but not only type of community, but we are going to learn also about the different people and the different places that we can find in our communities. So, perfect. Before to start our class, right, it is very important to remember that you have to wash your hand. Remember, you have to wash your hand very often, and also you need to keep your workspace very clear, because if we are taking care of ourselves, we are taking care of everyone around us, and we are going to be safe. So, choose to stay home, stay safe. Perfect. Before starting our class for today, it is very important for you students to have your materials, because it is important that you take notes about the class, about everything new for you, because we are actually learning new things, right? And even more in English. So, get a pencil, get your English notebook. You don't have your English notebook, doesn't matter. You just get a page or anything that you can just write on it, and also a pen or a pencil. Okay, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds for you to do it, okay? Perfect. So, it seems that you already have all your materials, right? So, we're ready to learn, right? Let's go. Okay. Before going deep in the topic for today, I want to ask you about last class. What about last class? Do you still remember the last class? That's right. It was about the school jobs and locations, but it is not only to remember the topic of the class, but also I want to make sure that you really learned and paid attention to the class last week. Can you mention some of the main school jobs we studied? That's right. Very good. That was the first one. It was janitor. What about the second one? Do you remember the second one? Perfect. Perfect. It was also a school accountant. And the third one we studied? Absolutely awesome. It was the principal of the school, the main, right? The main job in the school, like the head of everything there. Perfect. What about the next one? Very good. It seems like you really paid attention. So it was a lab assistant. We can also call her or him like a science assistant, which is also pretty good. Okay, that was the other one. Perfect. Congratulations. So the librarian. Do you remember, right? The one working with books and all those things. And that was the last one. Perfect. The cook, which is the one who's working for feeding people, right? So now, more important. So this is the topic for last class, and now I'm gonna make sure is you already know where does these jobs are located in the school. So let's see. I want to make sure just is you paid attention to this class and might remember that I asked you to go around and find a link for you to get access to the activity, and here is the activity, so let's discuss it just to make sure that you got the right answers. Okay, perfect. So here it is, right? School jobs locations. So the first thing you have to do in here is just to write down your name. I hope you had already done it, right? Just let's verify you have done it really good. Okay, and the second one, you have to choose between the different areas among the different school we have, right? So if your school is located in the Panama City, and it's Panama, West Panama, or it is in the countryside. Here it comes the first one. It says, what school just is represented in the following picture? Here we can see the picture, right? And let's see the option. Is it a janitor, an accountant, or is it the principal of the school? That's right. That is the right option, a janitor. Perfect. What about the second one? What school job is represented in the following picture? Let's see the picture. Okay, there is a girl, many papers, using a calculator, right? Getting a count. So what could it be the answer? Is it the principal, the cook, or the school accountant? Perfect. That is the right answer. Okay. What about the third one? Okay, let's see the picture. Okay, she's taking notes. She's wearing in white, right? Okay, so let's see. Is this a cook, a science assistant, or an accountant? That's right. Very good. That is the science assistant. The other one is about location. In this picture, you just can see a location in your school. What does this picture represent? What location does this picture represent in your school? Is this a kitchen, a science lab, or an accounting office? Perfect. It was a kitchen. Okay, there was another one. What school location is represented in the following picture? Let's see. Oh, it looks like an office, right? Computer. Okay, there are even some books. So what is this? Let's see the options. So we had accounting office, principal office, or science lab. Is this an accounting office? All right, there is no calculators in there, so it is the principal office. Perfect. So the last one, what school location is represented in the following picture? Okay, what we have here, is this a lab? Actually, it is not, right? Perfect. So the options are science lab, janitor closet, and principal office. Which is the answer? That's right. Perfect. This is a janitor closet. Okay, the other two questions in here are for you just to write down. Okay, the different school locations. Remember, we have principal office, accountant office. We had also the janitor closet, the kitchen, and also a science lab, right? So, the other one was about writing the different school jobs from your school, which is also the principal, the accountant, also the cook. Remember? Very good. So, remember that you can get access, right, to each of these activities by just accessing to my Instagram account that is being given to you at the last of this class, right? And you just have to click on the link and you're gonna get access to these activities. Perfect. So for today's class, we're going to change a little bit more because we are going to learn, do you remember I gave you the topic at the beginning of the class? That's right. We are going to learn about the types of communities, and we are going to learn also about the different people and the different places that we can find in many of the those types of communities. So the question here is, do you know what a community is? I'm gonna give you some hints. So the first thing is that a community is a place where people live together. In a community, there are buildings, houses, streets, and people. And there are trees also, parks, animals, and many other things, right? So, do you know what a community is? Excellent. So, now that you already know, right, what is a community, or you already have some ideas, what about watching a video that is going to give you more information and you're just going to get more details about the different type of community we are going to be learning? Excellent. Go ahead and say it.
Hello. Let's get started on the lesson. A community is a place where people live together. There are many different types of communities. In this lesson, you will learn about 3 common types: urban, suburban, and rural. An urban community is large and highly populated. This means that lots of people live there. In urban communities, you will see tall buildings or skyscrapers, traffic, and transportation. New York City is an urban community. Look at all the tall buildings and busy people. New York is called the city that never sleeps. Why? It's because these bright lights stay on all night long. An urban community could be busy both day and night. Most people live in apartment buildings in an urban community, although some live in homes. Since urban communities are so crowded, there are many apartments and homes located right beside one another. A suburban community, or a suburb, is located near a city. It is not as populated as an urban community. There is less traffic and smaller buildings. Some people who live in suburban communities travel to a nearby city for work. This is called commuting. Look at the L train from Chicago. This train travels to and from Chicago and its surrounding suburbs. There are not many buses and trains in a suburban community, so most people drive to work. Many people live in homes in suburban communities. These homes are usually very spacious and beautiful. They have amenities or special features, such as large backyards and garages. A rural community has very few people and buildings. In fact, it mainly consists of farmland. You might see lots of animals and natural scenery such as trees and grassy plains. People live in small houses that are spaced far apart. Some houses are located miles away from one another. Look at this home. It stands alone. Would you like to live here? Why or why not? Let's review. An urban community is large and highly populated. A suburban community, or a suburb, is located near a city. It is not as populated as an urban community. A rural community has very few people and buildings. It mainly consists of farmland. What type of community do you live in? Think about it. Look around your community. What do you see?
How was the video? Did you like it? It was awesome, right? Very interesting. Now you have more ideas of it, right? Maybe you had different ideas, like, okay, everywhere is the same, but now that you already sent the video, it is going to be different, right? So now, let's see what is going to be the objective of this class, because it's very important to know what we're going to do once we finish. And when we finish this class, we are going to be able to distinguish the different types of communities, people and places that we can find in the place we live in. Okay, perfect. Now, let's pay attention here. I'm gonna ask to challenge yourself, okay? It is very important. I'm giving you 3 pictures of the different 3 types of community that we are going to be studying. In this case, it is urban, suburban, and rural, right? So do you remember from the video, right? So what I'm going to ask you is to try to identify what type of community is the place where you're living in. Is this an urban? Okay, just try to relate it with the picture. Many tall buildings or skyscraper, right? Like sun all night. Is this a suburban, where it's like a pretty more quiet? Also, there are beautiful houses and pretty small then, right? Or is it a rural where there are few and they're pretty far away, right, from the city, and there are even animals, and mainly consists of farms. So I'm gonna pick mine, and mine is suburban, okay, because I don't live in the city, and my community looks like the second picture. So what about yours? Is it the first? Is it the second? Or is it the third? Is this an urban community? Is this a suburban community? Or is this a rural community? Okay, if you're not pretty clear about your answer, doesn't matter. Don't worry, because this is the time for going into the topic. And let's start with the different type of communities. So the first one is an urban community. You had remembered from the video, right? We had already got some ideas. So I'm gonna ask you to look at the picture and tell me, how does an urban community look like? Okay, there are many things there in that picture, but it is showing you actually the main characteristics that an urban community has. So what would it be the first one? Excellent. Tall buildings, right? That is the thing that we can see the most in this picture, like many tall buildings. Actually, that is Panama City, right? Very familiar for everyone. The second one, that's right, perfect. Lights on all night. So living in the city is pretty different, because we have lights on all night. What would it be another characteristic that we can see? Okay, that's right. A lot of people, and not only a lot of people, but also, right, there are many other things like crowded. It is also traffic jams everywhere, so it means that there are a lot of cars. So what about repeating the pronunciation of this first type of community, which is urban community? Can you repeat after me? Urban community. Perfect. So in an urban community, let's repeat. So pay attention, take even notes as you want, as you can. Okay. So we are going to find tall buildings, lights on all night, and we are gonna find a lot of people. Perfect. Now let's see, we have already seen the main characteristics, right? So now let's see what are those places that we can find in an urban community. So I'm gonna give you 10 seconds for you to start thinking about the picture you're seeing now in your TV. Tell me about the different places that you can see in the picture. There are many places around there, right? Okay, time is over. Let's see, what would be the first thing you can see in this picture? Perfect, that's right, in a hotel, right? In every urban community, there is a hotel. Perfect, what else can you see around there? Okay, what about right there in front of the hotel? Excellent, there is a mall. There is a mall, right? So we can find malls in the different urban communities. Okay, what else can you see in this picture? Restaurants, very important, right? Because we can also find where to eat in an urban community. What else can you see there? There is a very tricky one. A pool? No way, there is no one. But a cinema, right? Which is called also movies. So we can find movies also in an urban community. What else we can find? Okay, let's take a look. Oh, that big building there. That is a bank. So we can also find banks. Okay, banks. So is there still something else we can find in an urban community according to this picture? Perfect, hospital. Hospital. Okay, so we have already seen 6 of the main places that we can find in an urban community. So can you see something else that you want to add to this picture, just according to the different places that we can find in an urban community? Excellent. It is crowded, so we can see people everywhere, and traffic also. Yes, there are many cars around there also. So pretty good. Before moving on, right, the next type of community, I want just to make sure that you already remember the first type of community, which is, that's right, the urban community. Perfect. Actually, it's like the biggest one, because it is where there is everything like in big size, like the tall buildings, and also we are talking about the different places that we can find there. That maybe if we go to another type of community, we are not going to find it, right? Okay, so are you pretty clear about the first time of community we are studying right here? Excellent. Okay, let's go to the second one, a suburban community. Can you repeat after me? Suburban community. Yes, suburban community. Perfect. Let's do exactly the same we did before, and let's take a look of this picture. We have seen this picture before also, right? So tell me, how does a suburban community looks like? What would it be the main characteristic that you can get from that picture? The first one. Excellent. Small houses, different to the ones that we can find in an urban community, right? So in suburban communities, we find small houses. What else? What else could be the characteristic for this type of community? Hey, you're right. It is near the city. It is near the city, so it means that it is near a urban community. Perfect. And what else? What else can be a characteristic for this type of community? Excellent. It is not too populated. What does it mean? That there are not too many people, right? It is not crowded. It is different, so there are like a few amounts of people, but it is not actually like very few, but it is still less than the amount of people that we can find in an urban community. So let's see again. A suburban community is where we can find small houses. It is always near the city, and it is not too populated. So let's repeat again the pronunciation. It's a little bit tricky, right? So suburban community. Repeat after me. Suburban community. Perfect. Now let's go to this picture. This is the picture of a suburban community. Gonna give you 10 seconds for you to start thinking about it, and let's try to find the different places that we can find in a suburban community. Okay, time is over. Let's see. What would be the first thing, or the first actually place that we can find in a suburban community? Perfect. Which is the most important, right? And the school. So we can find schools in a suburban community. What else we can find in a suburban community? That's right. Markets. We can find markets. You know, if you need something, you have to go to the different markets that we can call then also like grocery stores. Very good. What else we can find in here in this picture? Very good. Just to spend time with family, right? So we can go to the park. We can find park in the suburban community. What else we can find in this type of community? What do you think? Very good. Church. Church. Remember that we can also find church in a suburban community. Is there still something else you want to add to this type of community? Excellent. Villages. Villages. Okay, perfect. And what else? Is there still something else you want to add? All right. So let's go to the next one. And the next one is rural community. Actually, this is the third type of community that we are learning, okay? So, and this is actually the last one, so let's pay attention. Rural community. How does a rural community look like? Let's take a look at the picture we have on our screen, and let's see what would be the main characteristics of this picture, just to identify a rural community. Excellent. Farmlands. Right? Very good. Many farmlands. So that is the most that we can find in these rural communities. What else we can see? What else could be a characteristic for the rural community? Pretty small houses. Pretty small houses. And another one could be? That's right. It is far apart. Okay, perfect. So let's see the game. A rural community. Repeat after me. Okay, rural community. Perfect. So in a rural community, we're going to find farmlands, small, pretty small houses, and it is always far apart the country. Okay, so we had already seen the different three main type of community that we can ever find everywhere we go. Okay, so what about finding the different main areas that we can find in a rural community? Okay, this is pretty easier because it is divided into 6 different parts, right? So what can you see in this picture and what can we find? I want you to take notes because it is very important, and remember we are increasing even our vocabularies. Okay, what we can find? The first one, burns. Perfect. What else we can find? Look at this, it is even different. We have seen that in suburban community, we can find church, right? But in a rural community, it is not a church, it is a chapel, okay? So we can find chapels also in a rural community. It's different because chapels are a little bit smaller than churches, okay? Perfect. What else we can find? That's right, windmill. So we can find also windmills, okay, in the different rural communities. Okay, what about, if I ask you for the one in the middle, down there, what would it be this called to find in a rural community? That's right, small houses. Pretty good. And what about the one to your left? Oh, there is a big house, yes, there is a car also, but what is the most important thing you can find in a rural community is? Perfect, a lake. A lake. We mostly find lakes in rural communities. We don't find a lake, we can find rivers, or we can even find waterfalls, which is pretty beautiful, right? And what about the last one? We still have one space with no label. So what do you think it be? Lands. Perfect. Which is the most important, right? Because they are raising animals and they need a lot of land. Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that you have already paid a lot of attention to what we have learned so far. And what do you think? It has been really interesting, right? Because now you can know the difference between an urban community, suburban community, and a rural community, which are the three main parts or main types of community that we can find everywhere we go. So now, can you think over and back to the first question that I asked you today? It was about what is the type of community you're living in? Now you know, right? You had already picked one, but now you are making sure about the type of community you are living in. So this is pretty good. Okay, what do you think if we continue with the class for today? Great, let's go. Let's review. Just to make sure that you paid a lot of attention, let's have a review about this topic, okay? We have seen the three different types of community. I'm gonna ask you to help me label them. Okay, let's give each of them the right type of community they are. Okay, let's go with the one in the middle. What we can see in the picture is pretty small houses. It is pretty apart. It is far from the city. There are many animals. We can even see farm lambs. Okay, so what type of community is this? Excellent, pretty good. So this is a rural community. Awesome. You have done a good job. What about the one to your left? Okay, they're pretty beautiful houses. It is pretty quiet also. It is near the city actually. Okay, not too many people. It is not too populated. What type of community is this? Excellent. This is a suburban. Perfect. Suburban community. And what about the last one? It is pretty easy because it's the only one we still have, right? So this third type of community is a urban community. Perfect. Excellent. So let me congratulate you guys because you have done a very, very good job so far. But since this is the main part of the topic, it is very important to remember the definition of each of the different types of community we are learning. So the first one is an urban, so it is large and highly populated. The second one is suburban. It is located near the city but not in the city. It is not too populated as the urban community. The rural, it has very few people and buildings, and it mainly consists of farms. Okay, so these are like the tricky definitions you have to learn just to identify each of them. Okay, let's go ahead and keep on the topic, and now it is time to learn about the different people that we can find in each of the different communities. Remember, everywhere we go, there are different people, right? So let's see. I'm gonna show you this picture here. This picture here have like a group of people, different people. They are trying to mean something because of the way they are dressing up, right? So up there we can see a list of the different people that we can find in our community, and actually most of them are outstanding people, right? Like for example, we have in first position the president, right? So the president is one of the outstanding people that we can find in any of the different type of community we have studied. What else we can find? A police officer. Police officer is also another outstanding people we can find in the different communities. Engineer. Also we can find engineer. What about a cook? Cook, right? We can also find a cook. Do you remember? Yeah, you did pay attention to previous class. Yes, it's exactly the same to the previous class. Cook, the one working in a kitchen. Perfect. What about the next one is doctor. So we can also find doctors in the different type of communities. What about the other? It's mayor. The mayor is also another outstanding person that we can find in the different communities. Nurse, and nurse also. What about the next one? Maybe a new word for you. It is firefighter. Firefighter. Okay, it's firefighter. We can also find firefighters in the different communities. This is very important. This is actually you. Where we go, everywhere, every time, we can find students, right? Students. So that is you. Very good. And the other one, a mechanic. So we can also find a mechanic. Okay. So this is very important. Very important for you to identify also the outstanding people that we can find in the different types of communities we go. So now it is time to practice, okay? So it is time to practice, so let's try to do it in the best way possible. I'm pretty sure that you already paid attention and you learned pretty good each of the different type of community and even more the different type of people, because we have already mentioned some, but I know you know, and you're right, teachers also people that we can find in the different type of communities. So let's practice just to make sure. This is pretty easy, a practice. You're going to see on your TV right now 9 different pictures. These pictures are going to give you ideas of the different types of community we have. We have already seen the characteristics, right? So the first one is a barn, the second one is tall buildings, the other one is a farmland, the other one is a school. We have also a crowded city with many people and cars. We have a neighborhood, we have the subway, we have a church, and well, actually, I'm sorry, this is not a church, this is a chapel, okay? And we also have markets. So let's bring into this box the pictures that can help you have a rural community. Okay, I'm going to circle them. Perfect. You tell me. Okay, the first one for a rural community. That's great. So we need this. Perfect. So a rural community has also a barn. Perfect. What else we can find here? That's very good. A farmland. And what else we can find? Perfect. The chapel. The chapel. Excellent. So we can see the 3 main characteristics of a rural community. Okay, let's go and see the next one. What we need from this picture to have a suburban community. Suburban. Tall buildings? No way. Remember, tall buildings doesn't belong to suburban community. Yes, that's very good. So we can find schools. Perfect. What else we can find? That's right. Excellent. Neighborhoods. And there is still something else we can find in a suburban community? Very good. We can also find markets. Awesome. You're doing so far a good job. Okay, now let's bring into the box also pictures that can help us have a urban community. Now an urban community, remember the first type of community we studied. Okay, what we can find? You're right. The tall buildings. What else we can find? Very good, a very crowded city with many people and cars, right? And what else? The subway, right? The subway. It doesn't matter the different types of community we live in, but you have to know about them, right? Perfect. Now let's practice about the different people. So help me just label each of the people we can find in our community. Okay, the first one, the president. Who do you think looks like a president in the picture? Oh, perfect. The one using, right? The suit. Perfect. And who can be the police officer? It is pretty clear. Very good. This one here. This is the number 2. Okay, what about the number 3? An engineer. Who can be an engineer here? Awesome. This could be number 3. What about the cook? Yes, that's perfect. This is the cook. So this is number 4. What about number 5 is a doctor? Who is the doctor? Awesome, the one next to the cook. So this is number 5. And what about the number 6 is the mayor? The mayor is the one behind, right? The president. Number 7 is nurse. What is the nurse? Perfect. The firefighter. Who's the firefighter? Yes, that's right. What about students? Who are the students? Perfect. And the last one is a mechanic. Perfect. Congratulations. You have done a very, very good job. So for you to practice at home, you have to start drawing the different type of community that you have around your area, right? You have to identify your area and just make a draw like the example I have here. I just draw a suburban community because I live in a suburban community, okay? So, people, let me congratulate you because you have done a very, very good job today. So, thank you for watching Conéctate con la Estrella. Remember that for questions and for more practices as the one we did at the beginning of this class, you can access to my Instagram account, which is theteacherjs, and you can find the different links so you can get more practices and you can even send me questions. So people, hope to see you next class.